This is ABC7 News at 7, your Suncoast News. We're here for you.
These Confederate veterans and these statues that represent our ancestors mean something to us.
Symbols of heritage or racial oppression, the debate over monuments to the Confederacy is picking up attention across the nation, here in Florida, and even on the Suncoast. Tonight, we'll take a look at the statue outside the Manatee County Courthouse and what those on both sides of this debate are saying about it. Good evening, everyone. I'm Alan Cohn, and welcome to ABC 7 at 7. We'll have more on the debate over Confederate monuments coming up, but first, our top 7 stories at 7. Normally, the narrative we hear on the Suncoast is about environmental groups taking on developers, but tonight a different battle is unfolding in Venice, where city leaders are taking Neil communities to court. Venice has a long-standing agreement requiring new home builders to pay a fee before they can receive a certificate of occupancy. According to the city, Neil Communities is refusing to pay that fee. After 2 years of negotiations, the city is now filing a lawsuit against Neil Communities.
After this period of prolonged negotiation, we haven't made a lot of progress, so the city decided to seek a judicial solution to this, that is, ask a judicial body to determine whether or not it's appropriate for us to collect a fee.
Neil Community says it is ready to resolve the matter in court. Sarasota County is putting a boil water advisory in effect after a major water main break. It happened this morning at the intersection of Beneva Road and Beneva Woods Boulevard. Residents in the Lake Arrow condos and Beneva Woods subdivision are being told to boil their tap water before using it. No word on what caused the burst or how long the advisory will remain in effect. Now there's some shocking video captured on Friday of a driver slumped over in the driver's seat of his car off North Washington Boulevard in Sarasota during rush hour traffic. The man, 29-year-old Winton Folks, was at a complete stop in a turn lane with his 2-year-old son in the vehicle. Police say Folks' foot was on the brake and there was no child seat in the car. He was arrested for DUI and child abuse. He is out on bond. As for his son, the boy is in the custody of his grandmother. Now to a developing story in Manatee County. The sheriff's office is asking for the public's help after yet another shooting. It happened last night on 60th Avenue West in Bradenton. The victim says he was shot by 2 unknown suspects. He is now in stable condition at a local hospital. Anyone with information is being asked to call Crime Stoppers at the number on your screen. Now to a murder mystery drawing attention across Tampa Bay and the Suncoast. 13-year-old Janessa Shannon's body was found in the Triple Creek Nature Preserve last week. Deputies are investigating it as a homicide. Her mother says Shannon snuck out of her Bradenton home on July 3rd. Investigators say they initially were investigating her disappearance as a runaway, which is why there was no Amber Alert.
There must be a suspect vehicle description. Again, we did not have that. So there was no way for us to issue an Amber Alert on the information we had at the time.
Shannon's mother says she is too distraught to comment. The school district in Marion County is making a controversial move by mandating its elementary school students won't get homework. Now, the idea is gaining traction in Manatee County. School Board Chair Charlie Kennedy wants to discuss the idea at an upcoming meeting. While some on the board say students learning more by spending time with their parents, others say the idea could hurt students.
A student doing 20 to 30 minutes of reading with a parent or sibling or family member is much more valuable to that student's educational experience.
Every teacher teaches differently. So why should we as a school board mandate across the entire spectrum of the county that there's no homework?
Manatee County Superintendent Diana Green is out of town this month and could not be reached for comment. Kennedy believes this would eventually ultimately be her decision. New developments in the legal battle over parents who choose to have their kids opt out of standardized testing. Florida Supreme Court says it won't take up the case of districts trying to hold back third graders who opt out of tests. In March, an appeals court threw out a lower court ruling requiring districts to consider other assessments of student performance. So for now, third graders who opt out of the tests will be held back. The National Hurricane Center reports Tropical Storm Don has formed out in the Atlantic. It is still a long way out from the Caribbean, but for the latest on its track, let's go to meteorologist Steve Newman. Steve.
Alan, it was a surprise because at 2 o'clock they said there was a 50% chance of it forming in the next 48 hours, and at 5 o'clock, boom, there was Don in the Atlantic, and its projected path takes it in the far southern Windward Islands as a minimal tropical storm. Maybe right now 40-mile-an-hour winds near the center. Hurricane Hunter aircraft went out and found those wind speeds. That's why they decided to give it a name. It should dissipate over the Caribbean north of Venezuela and Curacao by the end of the weekend. It does not pose any threat to the United States. Now look at the radar, a lot of heavy rain. It started here over the Sun Coast. You can see that passing over Lakewood Ranch into Tampa Bay, and that green patch is a flood warning for the Mayaca River near Mayaca Head. It's common for this time of year. And look out in the Gulf, there's more thunderstorms trying to develop out there, and our high-resolution rapid refresh model seems to think that there's a chance of another round coming in late this evening through the early morning hours and then clearing out toward dawn with southeasterly winds forming about sunrise. We will see if that happens. And the rainfall chance on the graph here seems to peak about 10 o'clock at 70% chance, 60% chance. So we'll see if that particular development occurs. But tomorrow morning, at least, looks like it will be dry. And as far as dawn, we'll be taking a much closer look at that storm a little later on in this broadcast.
All right.
Alan?
Thanks a lot, Steve. And still to come, should memorials to the Confederacy sit on public land? The debate is taking place across the country and now has come to the Suncoast. We'll hear arguments from both sides when we return.
Attention, Americans eligible for Medicare. Are you getting all the benefits you're entitled to? Did you know there may be money available to lower your medical prescription costs? Call Health Markets and we'll tell you if you qualify.
Hi, I'm Dr. Martin Jeetzy. It's a new Medicare year. That means more changes and more confusion. The key question is, what can you do now to ensure you get the care you need in the coming year?
Call Health Markets today. You may qualify to save money on prescriptions. We'll help you find plans that may cost less, cover more, and could even lower your prescription costs to increase your savings. We help you find all the benefits you're entitled to, and we do it at no cost.
Make sure you have what you need to get the care that's right for you.
Find out if you qualify to receive extra help with your prescriptions. Call the number on the screen now. Representatives are standing by.
You studied hard, went to college, and achieved your dream, but it turned into a financial nightmare. If you have federal student loans and you'd like to reduce your payments, get more time, or have your loans completely eliminated, then we have good news. With one call to Student Loan Relief Services, you can find support and guidance. We've already helped thousands of people, and we can help you too. If you have $10,000 or more in federal student loans, you can qualify for payment extensions, payment reductions, or you may qualify to have your federal student loan completely forgiven. Call Student Loan Relief Services now to find out about your options. Take control of your finances and get out from under this burden. One of our student loan experts has the answers to your questions and great solutions to ease your financial burden. We're here for you. Call Student Loan Relief Services now.
Call 800-759-0203, 800-759-0203.
The official Suncoast Hurricane Guide from ABC7. Download yours today.
For the last few weeks, a debate has been raging right up the road in Tampa over a monument dedicated to the Confederate soldiers right next to the Hillsborough County Courthouse. County commissioners voted narrowly not to move it, but under growing pressure, they are rethinking that position. There have been similar debates from South Carolina to Louisiana, but not so far in Bradenton. And Kate Flexter is here to explain that. Kate.
Well, thanks, Alan. Bradenton's statue has been there for nearly a century, and now people are taking a look back at its history as well as its future.
Rodney Jones passed this statue every day.
You'd walk right by it.
And never really noticed it.
I never paid attention to it.
Until one day he stopped and really looked at it.
It's very dark history and a very dark time for many African Americans in this country.
In memory of our Confederate soldiers, reads the statue, paying tribute to Confederate generals Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson. Donated in 1924 by the Daughters of the Confederacy, the statue has sat right next to the county courthouse for nearly a century. It's a symbol Jones, the NAACP president in Manatee County, has come to associate with racism. As we talk, a car parked right in front of the statue proudly displays a Confederate flag license plate.
I think it's more savvy than it has been in the past. It's not so much right in your face. It's done through policy, it's done through other measures, but racism is very much alive and well.
We stood out here for about an hour to see what exactly Manatee County residents think about this statue. The vast majority told us they've actually never really noticed it, but a lot of them said they think it should stay.
I think that's part of our history.
It's history here, and I believe it should stay here.
Only one person told us she disagrees.
To just the random person that walks by all the time, what's it saying? That we're in the South and we still feel that way?
It's a debate facing communities across the nation. In New Orleans, a Confederate statue was removed. In Orlando, it was simply relocated. And in Hillsborough County, commissioners voted for it to remain, although continued backlash and protests are resulting in commissioners rethinking their decision.
Race is at the forefront of people's minds right now, so is tolerance and equality.
The Southern Poverty Law Center says there are 1,500 Confederate statues in the country. The recent spotlight on these monuments, a symptom of the growing political divide in our country.
I think we're living in a time where, where the United States is more racially polarized than ever. This is due to the political climate that we're living in. It's due to a number of other factors as well.
50 miles east of the statue in a town called Arcadia, Confederate flags, signs, and bumper stickers are a common sight. At the town hangout, the Last Chapter Coffee House, nearly every customer is related to a Confederate soldier.
They're American veterans, and they deserve that respect. They fought to defend their country against an invasion.
Confederate supporter Leon Arthur says taking down these statues is erasing history and dishonoring his ancestors. But he says efforts to stop it are futile.
The judges don't listen. The politicians don't listen. The system does whatever it wants to do because we have no state rights.
Arthur claims the battle's still ongoing, calling the Civil War a war of northern aggression.
I believe the South was right in 1860. I think they're right today, and they're going to be right tomorrow, and we'll get our independence one day.
But for Jones, this is not just a statue. It represents what he calls a culture of inequality.
And if you look at incarceration rates, unemployment rates, health disparities, academic attainment, anything that spells prosperity, we still lag so far behind other populations. So at some point you start to wonder, what about me being encased in this beautiful brown skin here? It's so causal for me to have such a challenging time here in America.
As of right now, there's no organized effort to remove the Bradenton statue.
Kate, thank you. And coming up in a moment, the arguments for and against these symbols of the Confederacy when we take it to the trapezoid.
Are you Goodwill?
Yes, because when I donate or shop at Goodwill,
I am creating a job.
I am Goodwill, yeah.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
Since 2014, Addiction Hope and Helpline has answered calls for recovery and treatment 24/7, 365 days a year. If you're depressed, drinking, using drugs, or taking pills, call now and talk to someone who cares.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Most insurance covers substance abuse. You can get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call 800-622-1941. 800-622-1941.
I heard about the Dotoli Cancer Center through friends of mine who had been treated here and were very pleased with the treatment.
If there is prostate cancer, we at the Dotoli Cancer Center will find it using 3D color flow Doppler ultrasound.
And that helped precisely identify where my cancer was and some additional cancers that were not found during the biopsy. I would recommend the Dotoli Cancer Center. As a group of human beings, they are unbelievably great.
Are you a food lover, restaurant goer, or home cook? Then check out My Suncoast Dining on mysuncoast.com, your guide to the foodie lifestyle. ABC7's own Chef Judy serves up her favorite recipes, cooking tips and trends, dining blogs, and helpful step-by-step videos. And you'll love the restaurant guide with direct links to your favorite Suncoast eateries. Whether you're cooking in or dining out, whet your appetite with tasty tips from Chef Judy at mysuncoast.com/dining. Watch ABC7 wherever you are. Just search ABC7 on your streaming device to keep up with the Suncoast from the comfort of your couch. Download ABC7 now to watch us on TV anytime you want. ABC7, we're here for you wherever you are.
Welcome back. One by one, monuments to the veterans of the Confederacy are disappearing across the South. As we speak, the debate is raging right up the road in Tampa, but it hasn't gained traction in Bradenton yet, where this 94-year-old Confederate monument sits outside the Manatee County Courthouse. The monument was unveiled in June of 1924, quote, "In memory of our Confederate soldiers, the names of Jefferson Davis, Stonewall Jackson, and Robert E. Lee etched on the sides." A newspaper clipping from the time recalls how the president of the United Daughters of the Confederation dedicated the monument, saying the sacrifices of the Confederate soldiers will go down, quote, "as an inspiration to generations of Americans yet unborn." And joining us with more local reaction to the Confederate monument is Rodney Jones, president of the Manatee County NAACP, Rod Thompson, president of the Sarasota Republican Club, and joining us by Skype is Reverend Russell Meyer, executive director of the Florida Council of Churches. And Rodney, I want to start with you because you saw that quote that I just read, an inspiration to generations of Americans yet unborn. That would be you.
That would be me.
Are you inspired?
Not inspired. Nothing against heritage. I think heritage is very important, but everyone does not share that heritage. I think the city of Bradenton, along with our country, is more diverse and more eclectic now than it ever has been. And it was probably appropriate during that time, and I don't think it's appropriate to be displayed at institution that represents all of us be displayed, because not all of us share those sentiments.
Rod, you and I have talked a lot about this, and correct me if I'm wrong, you're from Michigan. You are not a fan of the Confederacy and what it represented, but...
Right. No, I'm not. I'm not a fan of the Confederacy or the Confederate flag, of the causes of anything. So I want to make that really clear. However, I am a fan of maintaining history as history. I don't think it's a good idea to try and erase our history because it's an ugly part of our history, and the whole legacy of slavery from the Constitution forward is the biggest mistake that our country has made. But it's part of our country's history. Monuments remind us of our country's history, and I think that it's important for all Americans, including young black children, to know that that's a part of our history. And what went on from the 1870s to the 1940s and the remembrance of the Confederacy and all is an important part of what's going on today still.
Let's go out to Reverend Meyer, because Reverend Meyer is at a vigil just wrapping up in Tampa over the monument outside the Hillsborough County Courthouse. And you might remember just a couple of weeks ago, Hillsborough County Commissioners narrowly voted to leave it in place, but there seems to be movement. At least one county commissioner who voted to keep it in place has apparently changed his mind. Reverend Meyer, where does that stand right now, and what took place tonight?
Well, we think that it's going to be moved to a suitable location where you can remember the dead without interfering with the practice of justice today. We think that's going to happen. It's a question of when. We believe it will happen on Wednesday morning. And we think that there's sufficient understanding now across the community to do that. What they said, at least most of them, all but one of them, said they didn't have a place to move it to, but we think that problem will be solved.
Well, just to let our viewers know, what is happening on Wednesday?
On Wednesday morning, the Board of County Commissioners will meet again, and it is already on the agenda for the day to take up the question of where to move it. It's a slightly differently worded question this time than last time. And we believe there'll be sufficient spiritual, moral, historical, and present day thinking that will have a positive vote.
Rodney, let me get at least one more question into you, because this situation in Tampa has been taking place for the last couple of weeks. It's made national news. Other cases that we reported have. How come there's been nothing about the monument in Bradenton?
Like I said, it's unless you give intent to look at it, you almost just walk by it. I think it's designed. There's a neat little hedge around it that's pretty high up where the wording is. So unless you made a deliberate effort to take a look at it, you just would not notice. It's not like a Confederate soldier on a horse or something more prominent. So it's almost something that unless you were looking, you just walk by it.
Rod, this is a situation that really around the Suncoast and the greater Tampa Bay area really has been percolating for quite a long time. There's that huge flag at the intersection of 75, you're shaking your head, and I-4. And for a lot of people in our area, that is almost a poke in the eye every time they drive past. And on the other hand, there are people who believe that is a symbol of their shared heritage.
So that's on private property there, and they can do what they want with it. I don't like seeing it, but they have a right to fly it. I wouldn't say that you want that flag flying over any of our public institutions. I wouldn't care for that. You know, on the monument in Bradenton there, it is so well hidden. My God, I didn't know it was there until this issue came up, and even Rodney didn't until recently.
Okay, we are just getting started with our conversation, and we'll pick it right up after we check the weather.
This is an important medical announcement. Barred IVC filters have been linked to punctured veins and problems with migration. Anyone who's received a barred IVC filter must receive medical monitoring and may be entitled to substantial compensation. If you have the Barred Recovery G2 or G2 Express filter, you are in a class of patients who should be compensated for some expenses. Call now for a free assessment of your case and potential money damages. This call is confidential. There's no cost and you may be eligible. Juries have awarded millions of dollars to people who should have been warned about the risks of the barred IVC filters. Call the IVC Filter Hotline if you or a loved one has received an IVC filter and experienced a vein puncture or required medical monitoring. You must call now.
Call 800-329-3089, 800-329-3089.
I am the resident district manager on the FAU campus for Chartwell. Whenever I see Haley, I do not see a person with a disability. I see a person with extraordinary abilities. Haley is always smiling. She's always on time. She gives fantastic customer service and is always focused on any job that she's given.
Hi, this is Dan Marino. When your business recruits people with disabilities, everybody wins. To find out how, go to disabilitieswork.employflorida.com.
Are you a soccer mom or dad? Regardless of their age or experience level, when your kids play soccer or any other sport, there's one person on the sideline who is key to help recognize and seek medical care for sports-related concussion. It's you. You need to know the signs and symptoms of concussion, and you need to act if you think your child has been injured. Remember, when in doubt, sit them out. To learn more, go to cdc.gov/concussion. 2001, 2002, 2003, 2004.
A promise was made. A promise that hit the beaches of Normandy. A vow that captured Iwo Jima. A contract that weathered Tet. A pledge that stormed the desert in Iraq. An IOU that braved IEDs in Kandahar. A promise was made to America's veterans. DAV fights to keep that promise, so all veterans and their families get the benefits and support they earned. For help, visit DAV.org.
Our discussion of Confederate monuments continues in a moment, but right now let's get a check on our forecast from Chief Meteorologist, or actually Meteorologist Steve Newman, filling in for our Chief Meteorologist.
Who was probably getting doused today out and about around central Florida. We had some strong thunderstorms. One went right over Lakewood Ranch, and then it evolved into a huge cluster that went over the Orlando area, now is moving out into the Atlantic. Currently at the airport, the temperature is 84 degrees, dew point 73. Our humidity is 69%. Winds are currently calm, and we may not be out of the woods yet for storms over the area for the evening and early morning hours. You can see this is what's left of what came over Lakewood Ranch and Parish earlier today, now moving out into the Atlantic, but it has produced a really heavy rain, swamping some roadways, causing some minor spinouts and accidents around the Orlando area. But look what's happening just offshore. There are more storms trying to form right out here, and also see some down in Lee and Collier County trying to move up. So our high-resolution rapid refresh model seems to think that there's a chance they could pop up again in the overnight hours around 8, 9, 10 and toward morning as well. But I think by tomorrow morning we should have mostly fair skies. It's going to be an overnight event. Now, earlier today, the biggest news in the Weather Office was we had a new disturbance that had blown off the coast of Africa. A 20% chance of developing, and there it is right there. It doesn't look like much. And we had also thought that this little area that doesn't look like much only had a 50% chance of developing in the next 48 hours. And then boom, 5 o'clock, the National Hurricane Center declares it Tropical Storm Dawn. They sent Hurricane Hunter aircraft out, flying back and forth through it, detected winds of 40 miles an hour, and that's when they classified it as a tropical storm. However, it does not look like it's going to be a big deal, although there is a tropical storm warning in effect for Grenada, and from Barbados to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, there is a tropical storm watch. The next 2 days shows it moving over the southern Windward Islands to just north of Curacao and strengthening to maybe 5 miles an hour stronger than it is right now. Here's the GFS computer model showing hardly anything in the model developing. A little, the redder, the brighter the red, the stronger the winds. The winds really don't become much, and then it washes out over the Caribbean. Bottom line is it will not affect us. Now, for tonight and tomorrow, we'll have scattered thunderstorms over the area, especially during the afternoon and evening. You can see this time, well, tomorrow afternoon about 3:30, a good chance of storms across Florida. And the same thing occurs again on Wednesday afternoon, hit and miss showers and thunderstorms. So here's my forecast for tonight. More storms are possible. We'll see 76 the low temperature, the average low 75. And our 7-day outlook indicates that we have pretty much a 50% chance, 30, 40, 50, 60. It's hard to give it an exact number this time of year, but day by day we're going to have a chance of thunderstorms. It's going to stay humid, not much change in our weather pattern. Alan will be back with his guest in just a couple of minutes. Stay tuned.
Save big during the summer leather clearance and pay no interest till June 2018 with same-day pickup or next-day delivery. This special purchase deep-seating leather match sofa now $5.99. It's like floating on a cloud with this leather match sofa at $6.99. Or put your feet up in style with comfort in this dual reclining leather match sofa only $7.99. Exclusively at the Furniture Warehouse in Sarasota, Bradenton, Venice, Port Charlotte, and Ellenton.
And save big.
So you've decided to go to college. That's cool. So pop quiz. Which is a better way to earn your degree? Commute to college and fill your gas tank, get stuck in traffic, drive in bad weather, try to find a parking space, walk a half mile to class, or learn online at Independence University. In the park on a bench, on the beach on a towel, or on your couch with your kid. Your campus is wherever you want it to be. You don't go to college. College goes to you. That's independence. That's Independence University. You schedule classes around your schedule, and all your supplies, including a brand new laptop and tablet, are included with tuition. At Independence U, you'll learn from professional instructors with real work experience. You'll get personal support in school and employment assistance when you graduate. Get your degree, but keep your life. That's independence. That's Independence University. So if you're really smart, you'd call now.
Call 1-800-319-0237.
Independence U, for an independent you.
Call 1-800-319-0237.
This is an important announcement. If you're between 50 and 85 and worried about your loved ones, you can still get affordable life insurance for peace of mind.
My life insurance coverage is guaranteed, and I was not required to get a medical exam.
I had high blood pressure and diabetes, and I got my coverage with one telephone call. No exam necessary.
I'm a smoker, and I wanted to take care of my family. I called to get my life insurance and my affairs in order. I wanted to do the right thing.
Call Final Expense No Exam Insurance. Your rates are guaranteed and will never increase.
I called and learned that this insurance cannot be canceled even if you get sick or gain weight.
And there are no restrictions on how my beneficiaries use the money when I'm gone.
Approval was easy and the price was right. I wanted to do this for my children.
Call 800-738-9812. 800-738-9812.
Welcome back. If you're just joining us, we are discussing the recent debate over monuments to the Confederacy. The Suncoast has one of these monuments outside the Manatee County Courthouse, and tonight we are joined by Rodney Jones of the NAACP in Manatee County, Rod Thompson of the Sarasota Republican Club, and joining us by Skype is Reverend Russell Meyer of the Florida Council of Churches. And Reverend Meyer is at a vigil in Tampa where there was a group of people who want continually to get the monument outside the Hillsborough County Courthouse removed. There is a new vote that will be taking place in the Hillsborough County Commission on Wednesday. And as Reverend Meyer joins us, a group of protesters who want to keep that monument right where it is forming down, or they want to keep it, take it down. Reverend Meyer, what's going on right outside your window right now?
Well, what's behind me right now is the final members of the rally and vigil tonight, continuing to hold their signs up, passerbys. We had a dozen faith leaders, brown, black, and white, Christian, Muslim, and Jew, speak for about 45 minutes. We began with prayer and ended in a circle prayer, singing, "We shall overcome. This monument must go today." So we had a very powerful spiritual event.
Well, let me ask you this, because at a lot of these events, you've also had people from the other side, like the Sons of the Confederacy, show up, and basically it's been peaceful, but it's been tension-filled. Was there anybody there today?
No, I've done a couple of these events so far. I haven't seen any tension whatever. I have seen them standing in the background and taking notes, and on Facebook pages, they have, joined our groups, and so they're tracking everything we do. But we're here in the spirit and flesh of love, and so we welcome them to be here. I would like to go back to something that was said in the earlier segment about the erasure of history. These monuments erase history because they don't tell the full story. They don't talk about the rape and the violence, the oppression, the forced labor that the South was about in terms of slavery. And if what we want to remember forward, we need to have monuments to the slaves. We need to represent the people who actually built most of the infrastructure in the South. It was not white plantation owners who actually did the labor and built things. It was black people.
Rod, let me ask you about that, because that has been the flip side of the argument. And in fact, it's happened in every community where there's been this debate. The New Orleans mayor, Mitch Landrieu, there was a situation a couple months ago where he took down the monuments in New Orleans, and he said, "I believe we must remember all of our history, but not revere it." And he went on to say these monuments have stood not as a historic educational markers of our legacy of slavery and segregation, but in celebration of it.
Well, I don't see it that way. I see them mostly as a part of history, and maybe even when they were put up in 1911 and 1924, when they were put up in that period post-Confederacy, when the South really wasn't accepting things they were put up, that still remains a part of our history. Now, where I sort of agree with the Reverend there is that what I think is a reasonable reaction to this would be to add additional monuments that add further context in which the community that is now, today, building the history for future generations adds to the history from the previous generations, and maybe we'll be judged well, maybe we won't, but we will be part of the future history looked back upon. I think that that's a much more reasonable way to go about this, rather than tearing down monuments, because I got to tell you, Alan, whenever I think of tearing down monuments, I think of from Rome to Russia, where that's what conquerors, those in power, always did. You always tear down the monuments, you rename the cities, you get rid of that legacy. That's really not been the history of our country in any respect. And so I think an additional monuments to further expand in our history would be in order.
Rodney, I'm going to take a guess that I'm going to get a couple of comments on Facebook tomorrow morning, and it's going to go something like this. ABC7, why are you stirring all this up? So why don't you answer the question for me?
I think it's important. I can disagree. I don't believe in tearing them down as in a destructive measure, but I can definitely agree with removing those to another place that may be more appropriate. If you take that flag on 75, I'm offended every time I ride by that flag. I don't view it as a part of my heritage or something that needs to be remembered by my family. The brutality of that time is one of the darkest times in American history, especially for people of color, for black people. And so I don't want to see it, and to be honest, I shouldn't have to see it.
Well, is there a difference between that, as Rod pointed out, which is on private property, and a monument like next to the courthouse, which is on public property?
There's definitely a difference. I'm definitely in agreement with Rod. I think if it's private property, you have a right to do as you please, and if you don't like it, don't look. But on public lands, I view that a little bit differently, especially in places such as the courthouse that represents justice and equality for all people. I think the entire area should represent that, and so if we want to have a remembrance of what one views as heritage and one views as a very difficult time, an oppressive time, and a murdersome time for a race of people, I think it should be put someplace else.
We should also point out there is another Confederate monument and flag at the Gamble Historic Park. There's a Confederate flag there. That's also an issue that people are aware of. Reverend Meyer, let me ask you this, because there seems to be some outside influence that is taking place, at least in the Tampa Bay area. You have the Tampa Rays and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, which have both released statements for removing the monument from the courthouse in Tampa. And I'm wondering what is at play here, and I'm thinking about that the NFL just awarded Tampa another Super Bowl, and is there something going on here that the NFL or the Buccaneers are applying pressure because they want that Super Bowl in Tampa?
Well, I look at it as just where we are in our society today. So the NFL does not want their halftime Super Bowl commentators talking about a Confederate monument in downtown Tampa. They will not come to Tampa. They will move the Super Bowl because that's not why they're coming here. And if the controversy continues, all big league sports organizations are going to avoid this as a market to be, because when they come here, they want to be able to talk about the sport. They don't want to talk about racial controversy. And so we need to end this quickly. International companies that are looking to come to Tampa Bay, they want to make certain that their employees, when they bring them into Tampa, are going to feel welcome, safe, and secure, that they're not going to be judged by the color of their skin or their accent or their national origin. This is a symbol, always has been and continues to be, that white people will get preference. And we need to take it down and say that's not what we believe today.
All right, let's take a quick break, and when we return, we'll have final thoughts from our guests, plus what some of our viewers are saying about Friday's topic, the week in Washington.
I knew I could get myself out of this. I just needed some hope and some help.
I took the first step to recovery when I made the call.
If you're depressed, drinking, and using drugs, you may need help. And the Affordable Care Act guarantees coverage of substance abuse. Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment.
I had problems just getting to sleep, drinking and using pills every night.
I feel like I'm losing control. I'm afraid I'll lose my job or even my family.
Are you losing hope? You can recover and get back on track. Call now for hope and help with proven, gentle recovery programs.
I never thought that I could be somebody who didn't drink and use drugs.
I have something to hold on to for strength. I'm in recovery, getting the help I need.
Call the Addiction, Hope, and Helpline now for a free assessment with someone who cares.
Call 1-800-764-8708. That's 1-800-764-8708.
Outdoor living is one of the greatest perks about living in Florida. So whether this is your style, or this, or maybe this, contact Superior Pools. They've been building pools from Sarasota to Naples since 2001, and they would love to build yours.
I'm Cindy Lou. I'm Susie. I'm Missy. And I'm Betty Jean. And we're the Marvelous Wonderettes. Mr. Sandman.
Experience the best girl group songs from the 50s and 60s live on stage at the Players Center July 12th through the 23rd. Call 941-365-2494 or visit us at theplayers.org. You'll fall in love with the marvelous Wonderettes.
I'm so alone. Record-setting hot weather means your AC is working overtime to keep your home cool, which can lead to high bills. That's why we're bringing in the energy experts from Florida Power and Light Company. Watch ABC7 News from 5 to 6:30 this Tuesday to get your questions answered during the FPL Ask the Energy Expert phone bank. From free online tools to FPL's new mobile app. Learn how to save energy and money, only on ABC7. Start your day with a new Good Morning Suncoast team. Weekdays starting at 5 a.m.
Welcome back. Are Confederate monuments a way to preserve heritage, or do they glorify an era of slavery and racism? Can there be a middle ground? Our guests join us right now for final thoughts. And Reverend Meyer, I'll put that question to you because some people have suggested a middle ground here, either adding other monuments to the Confederate monuments or moving them but not removing them from public view. I mean, is there a middle ground here that you would support?
Well, the middle ground is a symbol that the whole community can gather around and feel like, I identify with that. And so we have to be able to do that. This is a symbol of division that is loved by some and brings terror and hate into others. So it doesn't belong in front of the county courthouse because it doesn't promise fairness and justice to all. Right. It can go in a county cemetery where it can be honored by all appropriately.
Rod, I'm going to ask you a tough question here because I understand what you're saying about you don't erase history, you study it. But when you watch interviews with people who want the monuments to stay exactly where they were and they talk about heritage and pride and how they were wronged, when, you know, do you think that the argument is because they believe that, you know, the South was right when they seceded and they fought that war and what that war was about?
That's not a tough question at all. I mean, I heard Kate's package ahead of time here, and I could hardly disagree with that man more. The South is not going to rise again, except it already has, and that everybody in the country wants to move to the South just about. I mean, the South is a great place to live as part of the United States of America. I mean, we are a united country. We have been for a long time. That sort of thing is not happening again. I'd like to say that what really bugs me, and it was brought up there by Reverend Meyer, is the idea of the national sports teams always getting involved with local politics and political issues that are divisive. They did that in North Carolina. They've tried to do a number of things. On this one, you know, I'm more ambivalent on this one, as you can tell. But on that, the bathrooms one, where you allow men to go into it.
It is free market.
Well, yeah, here's what happens. The fans are all over the place on this. I mean, matter of fact, the NFL fans are probably a little bit more conservative than the average American. I'm a big NFL fan. I'm a big NBA fan. And when they get involved with that, I think that that hurts them long term. I wish they wouldn't do it because it ruins sports for Americans.
Rodney, I want to give you the last word.
I don't think if we were in a time where I don't believe that I'll never live under this premise that we're all together, because we're not. And we need to stop saying that because it's just not true. When my conditions as a black male in this country, or a black person in this country, or a brown person, and there's a true sense of equality, I would say let that statue stay. That's a time that's gone, but that time is still here. All the data speaks to it. If you look at it, like I've said before, if you look at incarceration rates, educational attainment, everything that spells prosperity, somehow we seem to lag far behind other populations. So I think it needs to be moved to an appropriate place where those that want to see that type of thing can definitely go and take part in that activity. But me, myself, as a citizen and a member of Manatee County, and lifelong member of Manatee County, I find it offensive.
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. But before we go, we want to share with you what some of our viewers are saying about Friday's topic, our analysis of the week in Washington. Last week, new details emerged about a June 2016 meeting between top members of the Trump campaign and Russians with alleged ties to the Kremlin. Emails released by Donald Trump Jr. show the meeting was supposed to be about information damaging to the Clinton campaign. President Trump says nothing illegal happened and calls it opposition research. Here's what some of you are saying. Mike Finley writes, I think it's irrelevant, just more hate from America-destroying liberal socialists. Robert Rubelin writes, wow, A hostile country involved in our elections, and your Trump supporters think it's nothing. How patriotic of you. And Shannon Zielinski writes, it just keeps coming. It's hysterical. Well, what do you think about the Confederate Memorial at the Manatee County Courthouse? Join tonight's conversation by visiting our Facebook page at facebook.com/news@7. And FYI, you can watch past discussions. They're on demand. They're available on Apple TV, Amazon Fire, and Roku. Thanks to all our guests for being here tonight. Rodney Jones is president of the Manatee County NAACP. Rod Thompson is president of the Sarasota Republican Club, and Reverend Russell Meyer is the executive director of the Florida Council of Churches. He joined us by Skype. When we return, we'll have a final look at your weather plus preparing for the Zika virus. Florida was inundated with infections last year. Find out what Governor Rick Scott is saying about this year's threat in our prime time headlines.
Attention Medicare beneficiaries. Many people with Medicare may be able to get extra benefits and don't even know they're available. You may be able to get dental, vision, hearing, and prescription drug coverage included in your plan. The Medicare Coverage Helpline is accepting calls to see if you're eligible to enroll now. You may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription drug coverage.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jason Buchwald. Making sure you go to the doctor and taking all your medications as prescribed can help protect your health. To make it easier, you may now be able to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that includes coverage for dental, vision, and prescription drugs. Help protect your health by choosing the right plan for you and get all the benefits you deserve.
Call to see if you may be able to get extra benefits including dental, vision, and prescription coverage. Don't delay. Call to see if you're eligible to enroll and may be able to get extra benefits now. Call 800-711-7200. That's 800-711-7200.
Call to see if you qualify to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan right now. At Humana, we believe great things are ahead of you when you start with healthy. And part of staying healthy means choosing the right Medicare plan. Humana can help. With Original Medicare, you're covered for hospital stays and doctor office visits when you're sick, but keep in mind you'll have to pay a deductible for each. A Medicare supplement plan can cover your deductibles and coinsurance, but you may pay higher premiums than you do with other plans. And prescription drug coverage isn't included. But with an all-in-one Humana Medicare Advantage plan, you could get all that coverage plus Part D prescription drug benefits, all for an affordable monthly plan premium, and in some areas, no plan premium. It's all described in this free book and DVD. Call for yours and discover how an all-in-one Medicare Advantage plan from Humana could save you money. Call 1-800-558-8779.
Your primetime headlines are coming up in a moment, but right now let's get the final check on our forecast from meteorologist Steve Newman.
Thanks, Alan. We did have some storms pass right along the I-75 corridor, but looking out to sea, we did get some blow-off from those storms, looking out over Sarasota Bay from my Ben Waisel camera. But look what's happening late in the sequence. More storms are building up, so we may not be out of the woods yet for getting precipitation, at least in the evening and early morning hours. 84, the current temperature, dew point 73, humidity 69%. And look at our highs and lows, pretty much on the money for both, a little warmer than normal for last night's low. It was 96, a record-breaking 96 last year on this date, and during the building boom of 1926, the record low of 65. Now, radar shows a lot of thunderstorms over the area. This is what came over us earlier, and it's moved right over the heart of Florida, now moving offshore. But look at these storms begin to bloom off the coast in the last hour or so. Also, some stuff coming up from Collier County, Charlotte County, into Arcadia. So it's these little storms out here that could possibly drift in, as well as others developing in the moist, unstable air. So you can just see it is unstable, and it is moist, and it is warm across the sun coast, so thunderstorms could be expected. There is a new disturbance that blew off the coast of Africa, an African easterly wave that has only a 20% chance of developing. And this didn't look like it had that much chance of developing earlier today, but now it's Tropical Storm Dawn. Minimum tropical storm has the potential of bringing 2 to 4 inches of rain to the lower Windward Islands by late tomorrow night and into Wednesday. They've upped the estimated winds to 45 miles an hour near the center since the 5 o'clock issuance. There is a tropical storm warning in effect for Grenada, but this is a tropical storm watch from the Barbados to St. Vincent and the Grenadines to St. Lucia. Let's see what the path of the storm will do. Moving into lower Caribbean, winds stay just about the same. Very unfavorable conditions for developing down in this part of the Caribbean. So it is probably not going to make it even to Central America, and certainly not to the continental United States. So we don't have to worry about that. For the next 48 hours, we'll have scattered showers and thunderstorms moving across the Sun Coast. Tomorrow afternoon, another burst of them developing. And then again on Wednesday, more scattered showers and thunderstorms. If you're on the water tomorrow, wind should not be a major problem, except near those thunderstorms, you got to be alert for them. Light chop on bay and inland waters. The water temperature 88, the air temperature 89. And here's my 7-day outlook showing that we will have only a 50% chance on average for the next several days, with those afternoon and evening storms popping up from time to time. Alan will be back with his primetime headlines right after these words. Stay tuned.
Credit card debt can ruin your life. If you owe $10,000 and minimum payments are siphoning away your paycheck each month, you can get debt-free in less time than you think.
I've paid $800 a month for the past 3 years and haven't changed the balance on my credit card.
Get debt-free now has a program to reduce your debt, stop the harassing phone calls, avoid financial ruin, and settle for less than you owe.
I feel like a huge weight has been lifted off my shoulders.
You're pre-approved for our special hardship program if you owe $10,000 or more. Upon payment of your new lower balance, your debt will finally shrink until you are debt-free.
My family no longer has 30 years of payments ahead of us at 20% interest.
There's no fees until you see results. So call now, make one monthly program payment, and free up your cash. Resolve your debt.
Call 800-685-6422, 800-685-6422.
When it comes to drinking, what do you think moderation is? The U.S. Dietary Guidelines define moderation as up to 1 drink a day for women and up to 2 drinks a day for men. So what's a drink? The guidelines say a drink equals 12 ounces of beer, 5 ounces of wine, or a cocktail with 1.5 ounces of distilled spirits. Each contains the same amount of alcohol. Like to learn more? Visit drinkinmoderation.org.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast.
Hello, I'm Jacqueline Matter.
And I'm Ray Collins. More trouble for brick and mortar stores.
We'll tell you why a large group of Sears locations closing might mean the closure of the Sarasota Square Mall. That's tomorrow on Good Morning Suncoast. John?
We'll be watching for showers and thunderstorms to start earlier on. Again, like yesterday, we'll talk about that bright and early.
Tomorrow at 5 on ABC7's Good Morning Suncoast. We're here for you.
Because my parents told me I have to be responsible.
Because my first coach told me, you can do this.
Because my boss showed me how to do a good job.
Because my teacher helped me see the choices.
I'm swimming faster than I ever dreamed.
I am a valuable employee.
I discovered that I could work as an artist.
I will be whatever I want to be.
Youth with disabilities should grow up expecting to work and succeed. For more information, visit whatcanyoudocampaign.org.
Now for your primetime headlines, and we begin in Arizona, where flash floods have left 9 members of the same family dead. 1 person still missing. ABC's Maggie Rulli has the latest.
People clinging to whatever they can find as a deadly flash flood rips down a mountain in Arizona.
The wall of water that came down when I heard it coming was a good 4 feet with debris.
Eyewitnesses say dozens of swimmers were caught off guard.
They found a sandal, a little kid's sandal.
Including 14 members of the same family. They were celebrating the 26th birthday of Maria Rea at this swimming hole when a 40-foot wave of mud-filled water crashed over them.
It came on them very quick and there was no reaction time.
Authorities confirm so far at least 9 people were killed, including Maria and her 3 children, ages 3, 5, and 7. Her 27-year-old husband, Hector, is still missing.
My brother, he has to be found. They can't stop looking until he's found.
Neighbors in the community say people go to this swimming hole every day, and nothing like this has ever happened before.
It's really a tragedy. You know, I feel so sorry for this family. My heart goes out to all of them.
Driving rains in the region are causing flash floods, with areas getting up to 1.5 inches of rain an hour. And there is no relief in sight. Tropical moisture moving up the Gulf means more flash flood watches in Phoenix and more heavy rain expected through Wednesday. Maggie Rulli, ABC News, New York.
Now to Minneapolis, where a community is demanding answers after police shot an unarmed woman who called 911. Justine Diamond had recently moved from Australia and was planning to marry her fiancé next month. Her son says she dialed 911 on Saturday to report a possible assault in the alley behind her home. 2 officers responded. Diamond stepped outside in her pajamas, and while talking to the officer in the driver's seat, the officer in the passenger seat reportedly pulled his gun and shot her to death. The police department says while the officers had body cameras, they were not on during the incident.
I am heartsick and deeply disturbed. I have a lot of questions about why the body cameras weren't on.
Both officers are on paid suspension. The city's mayor says an investigation will be done by someone outside the department. While health care is on hold, President Trump is launching what he calls Made in America Week. The goal is to promote American-made goods. The White House is also calling on U.S. businesses to invest in more stateside manufacturing.
No longer are we going to allow other countries to break the rules, steal our jobs, and drain our wealth, and it has been drained.
President Trump and his daughter Ivanka have been criticized for making their own products outside the U.S. The White House is citing complications with supply chains as the reason for the manufacturing overseas. 2 environmental groups are suing the Trump administration over the expansion of red snapper season in the Gulf of Mexico. Last month, the Commerce Department extended the season by 39 days. The red snapper species is recovering from overfishing, and the government argues the benefits of extending the season outweigh the harm. This new lawsuit argues the decision ignores scientific assessments and didn't give adequate time for public comment on the change. Governor Rick Scott is delivering the opening remarks at the Zika preparedness planning meeting in Miami today. Scott speaking to representatives from the Florida Department of Health and Mosquito Control districts. In the wake of heavy rains, districts are stepping up spraying efforts. The governor says it's important to build on the lessons learned last year.
Last year, everybody worked hard. It's something we all learned about. We all know you don't have any standing water around your house, your business. You know to use bug repellent, use protective clothing.
Florida's Department of Health reports 107 Zika infections have been detected so far this year. The majority are travel related. An update on a sinkhole just north of Tampa. The United Way is starting a fund to help homeowners who were impacted. Money is being raised for families who lived in the 2 houses destroyed and those who were displaced. The sinkhole opened up on Friday morning and grew to 225 feet. No one was injured. Emergency management officials collected water samples to test for E. coli. And that's all the time we have for this evening. I'm Alan Cohn. Thanks for joining us and have a great night.